Hello there, and welcome back to Film Foundations. It has been quite some time since we did one of these. We're going to talk about why in just a few minutes, but if you don't know what this is what we call the State of the Union. This is going to be a live show that hopefully now moving forward, we do this every month. We're going to use this where we run down some of the latest happenings from the past month, offer some recommendations, talk shit for a spell. But if you don't know anything else, I am Ryan Verrill, and this is my co-host.
Crustaceo, otherwise known as Lorem Ipsum Dolor Sit Ame, which is a completely nonsensical Latin phrase. Came up with it in 2 seconds because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to put here. Last time I made a weed reference, and I'm not going to do that this time. So,
So since the last time we did one of these, it was a crazy world. Normally, we would just
crazy
talk about
world, folks.
the last 30 days, but we have like 5 months, 4.5 months to talk about some stuff. So first off, why have we done it in a while, Chris? I don't know how much you want to say.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much I can say, I guess, legally, how much I should say versus how much I shouldn't say. I am currently going through a separation with my partner of 13 years. And as one might expect, or newsflash to anyone who doesn't, it really fucking sucks. All I can say is this separation was news to me. So, and I will leave it at that. And so my personal life has kind of superseded the life of the content creator for it's been 3 months, I think, 4 months, going on 4 months, going on 5 months actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, and look, it's not an excuse thing. Like, I don't know how to put this, but if I can't make content, I can't make content. So
Well, and
yeah,
what's been crazy, this has not just been about Chris either. The last 4.5 months, I went to LA. That was the first
for
thing that
like a
interrupted
month.
what we did. We've had other things happen in both of our lives. There's been car accidents, there's been seizures, there's been uh
Creative
tons of
partners passing away that we'll talk about in the people that have passed away, which is even fucking wilder of a thing to even have to talk about.
yeah, it's been a hell of a period. What sucks is though we tried to set up this pattern of hey, we were going to be doing this once a month, and it happened right after the first one. So it's been a long time, but now we're trying to establish this again. We've literally been talking about this for months of getting this back going, and we were excited for this part because one of the things that we both noticed is everything that we always do is usually about films that have been out for a long time. We don't get to talk about like the current state of things. We don't get to spend a lot of time reviewing current films or discussing our passion for like trends in movies and what's happening moving forward. And I personally am really trying to set a goal to get that for me being a priority because I was focused for years on just discovering classics that I missed along the way. And now I'm at a point where I've seen the most new to me, brand new films for the year than I've ever seen in 1 year. And it's still a small amount. I'm only at like 35 or 36, something like that. I've got friends of mine that are literally at like 250. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But
I've watched Long Legs a bunch. Does that count?
um,
I think that counts. I think I've watched it like 6 times this year. Can't even good conscience mention it again because I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna want to hear me gush about that movie for more than like 5 minutes. Just go watch the damn thing like
yeah,
six times.
either way, I think we're just excited to talk about new things more than we get to in other situations.
Yeah, I would agree.
Uh,
Broadly, I would agree.
Speaking of the first thing that you brought up, we normally, because we think it's funny, start off this very fun show to discuss deaths and get it out of the way because
It's the best thing to do, really.
I think it's important to shine a light on some of those people, obviously, but the other thing is it gets its memorialized in an important way at the beginning of the show and out of the way so that we can get back to the other stuff. And since it's been so long, there's a lot here that I wanted to make sure that we gave at least a couple moments to. But there's also a creative partner that Chris is going to talk about at the end of that list. We're not going to spend as much time on each of these as we normally do, but just to go through some of the big ones since the end of June, which was the last time that we did this. Quincy Jones just recently, that is a powerhouse in so many different realms of entertainment, obviously not just film, but music and other aspects as well. Terry Garr, just in the last few weeks, was a big
After Hours' own Terry Garr.
Yeah. Maggie Smith, who has perpetually been like 84 since 1991.
Her and Helen Mirren, huh?
No, Helen Mirren still looks great.
But Helen, no, that's no. They both look great. Maggie Smith looked great too. I wasn't making a knock at anybody's visuals. I'm just saying they've both always looked like Dame Maggie Smith. You know, that's what you're supposed to say, right?
Yeah. God damn it. After Maggie Smith,
that's all I can think of. It's not what like anybody my age thinks when they think of Maggie Smith, right? Like, isn't that
probably.
it? Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like,
no, it's a good legacy.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of legacies,
the movies at least. Yeah, you're right.
Speaking of legacies, James Earl Jones. This is a great one. Obviously, so many important voice roles and small things.
Who? I'm just fucking with you. Please explain to me who James Earl Jones is.
He's that one guy from The Sandlot.
The dog.
He played Babe Ruth.
James Earl Jones in the role of a lifetime as a dog.
Obviously, one of the most famous voices of all time. He was incredible at what he did. Next one, hell of a curmudgeon. Mr. Bob Newhart passed since June. That was a big one. Richard Simmons, one that got a lot of undue hate over the years, but unfortunately he left a little too soon. And speaking of too soon, the last one that I had on the list, Shannon Doherty. That one hit hard because, talking about Maggie Smith being perpetually 94, Shannon Doherty seemed to be perpetually like 30 years old forever.
Right? Lucky her, huh?
Yeah, until it wasn't lucky her.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, let's talk about the creative partner. Oh yeah, it's Shelley Duvall. I think we talked about her in June, but I'm not sure.
I was about to say, I think we did. I feel like we did. I feel like that was. All right, Shelley. No, talk about a. That's the man. I don't even know how to feel about that one still. Shelley Duvall is someone who, yeah, I don't know. It feels like people were taking advantage of her there at the end, right?
I mean, a little bit, but
I don't know. I guess it kind of what it seemed like. Like
it got her attention and help, I think.
Yeah, which is all that. I mean, yeah, that's kind of all that I guess matters. Yeah, fair. Yeah. So Ryan kind of alluded to it, and I kind of alluded to it as well. So I, for about 2 years, from like 2020 to 2022, worked, or I guess it was like it was about a year and a half, 2 years. I worked with one half of the creators of Welcome Back, Kotter. His name was Alan Sachs. He and I worked together on a podcast project called Peter and the Acid King, which was a podcast about his friend, Peter Ivers, who, if you know anything about the LA punk scene in the 70s and 80s and new wave theater, was a pretty big deal. He was murdered in the 80s. Alan was kind of in that sphere of people. And so he actually approached Mike White, our mutual friend, Mike White, and asked him if he knew anybody that could do some editing. And I ended up being the person that Mike put in his direction. And so he and I worked in a business capacity initially for 6 to 8 months. And then it became more of a, like with you and I, Ryan, became more of a friendship and a creative partnership. He passed away not last Monday, but the Monday before, from at 81 from lymphoma. So, so it was a big shock to me. I had talked to him in August. He was a hell of a guy, a genuinely awesome human being, someone that I learned a lot from, someone that I am thankful to have spent as much time as I got to spend with him, because even though he was like 79 when I worked with him, guy was still sharp as a tack, pretty smart. I mean, obviously he created one of like the classic TV shows and also discovered John Travolta. So obviously I don't have to oversell the importance of what he did in terms of the pop culture influence and reach. But yeah, he unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago, which was, I think, a shock to me and everybody at least who knew him or knew about him. And yeah, it's kind of a shame, but I haven't really spoken about this publicly at all. I think this is actually the most I've ever said about any of this for a whole host of reasons. But I do have an associate producer credit, I believe, on Peter and the Acid King, which is a Imagine Entertainment produced podcast. So that's kind of a neat little feather in my cap to say I worked on and helped edit and produce a podcast that Ron Howard's production company put out into the world. And the podcast is pretty good, and it's hosted by Penelope Spheris, who, if you know anything about music films and or the films of the Little Rascals of the 90s, you would know who Penelope Spheris is. She has a great voice and an interesting point of view on things, and she ended up hosting the podcast. So yeah, that's I just kind of wanted, this is, like I said, probably the most I'll ever talk about it ever, I think. And I'm sad about it, and I'm sad for a lot of reasons, and it's just one more thing to make me sad, unfortunately. But I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to work with Alan on something that was a lot of fun for me and for him, and I think something that hopefully in the long run, we'll do some good, and maybe we'll get the person who did it caught. I mean, it is a murder from the 80s, so good luck. But hey, a girl can hope. So, and that's my hope, because I think that's what Alan and I always wanted, was at least what was important for me was to make a difference and bring light to a cold case that, someone who a lot of people clearly loved and cared about, because Alan, when he talked about Peter, would still get choked up about it. And Peter Ivers had a big impact on a lot of people. I mean, Peter Ivers' girlfriend is now head of Lucy Fisher, I think is her name. She's like a bigwig somewhere. It's like at some production company or some studio. So she's gone on to make a name for herself, and she's actually the executor of his estate. So they've released some Peter Ivers stuff. So his influence is still out there in the world being felt. But Alan and I got to work on a project that was hopefully going to try and figure out what happened to him, and haven't yet. Maybe we will, maybe someday somebody will come forward after listening to the show. But yeah, so that's my 5-second spiel on Alan Sachs, and now I will never talk about it again. Window closed.
What's crazy, the only thing about that took me by surprise, because obviously we've talked a lot about it over the last couple of weeks, was when you said it's only been a couple weeks. So much has happened in the last 2.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was 6 weeks ago at least.
No, that was 2 weeks ago, because that was the same day that everything happened with you as well. It was within 5 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, no, we have been having a fun couple months, folks, and I hope that everyone out there in the world is safe and taking care of one another in these trying times, because they didn't just become trying in the last couple of days for some of us, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. So on that note, if you have not watched one of these before, this is called the State of the Union, because it's about the state of our industry, things that we're going to be talking about, things that we enjoy, and it has really not much to do on the surface about politics, even though politics informs a lot about the entertainment industry.
And we're stealing the phrase State of the Union.
Of course, yeah. They didn't trademark it. Fight me, bitch.
Yeah. This is not like the big game, the superb owl, for he is the most superb owl of them all.
So to give you a rundown of things that we're going to go through on these, every single time we're going to, just chat for a minute. Then we're going to get into the deaths from the last month and give some honor to those people. We're going to go through some movie recommendations where each of us will share 2 films that we liked a lot, and then one that we're saying you can probably skip. After that, we're going to go into some physical media recommendations, since that is my entire life. 3 that I really want to highlight, either that are out or about to come out, that I really think you should get your eyes on. Chris is just kind of attached to a lot of shit, and so he's going to recommend 3 like pop culture recommendations. And then the thing that both of us maybe look forward to the most as part of this is, after all of that, we're going to have one of us spring out of nowhere. The other person has no idea what it's going to be, a top 10 ranking of some topic that they will be choosing, essentially either on the spot or I've it's my turn today, so I can say either we're choosing it on the spot or I have meticulously planned it to put Chris in a very funny situation. But either way, it'll be a lot of fun, and I think people will enjoy watching these. So leading into that, let's get into our first segment, which is movie news. I feel bad because my first one I probably sort of stole from Chris because this is more personal for Chris. However, we both love this and are going to be thrilled to talk about it. So, the biggest piece for me is one of my, I won't say favorite franchises, although.
Oh, come on. I think you would, and I think I would too. I think it's fair at this point to call it that because of what you're about to talk about.
Two of them are my favorite films from franchises. The
One
other
of them
two,
is your favorite Target male clothing models.
So to reveal what we're talking about, Hell House LLC. Stephen Cognetti, the creator, writer, director, everyman for this franchise, has announced that they are starting production on Hell House LLC Lineage, and this will debut on Shudder in October of 2025. This is the fifth installment, of which I think the first movie is damn near perfect. The second and third movie, they have good points, but are mostly skippable in my opinion. And then the fourth movie is really damn amazing. It is a nice, like, I won't say return to form because they had the same form the entire time. They were mostly just copying each other for those first three films. But the fourth one is a great film. So glad that it's there. Lineage is the fifth film. You want to talk about your history with Cognetti?
Yeah, I got to speak to him a long time ago. I mean, him and I are still, I think, friends on Facebook. He's a cool dude. I mean, he bootstrapped that first movie with his like family money and like friends and family, which I mean, like, good on him. Holy cow. Like, I don't know. And there's a level of like, I'm gonna do the thing and I'm really gonna do it that I appreciate and I will always respect. And look, to make a movie that I think both of us have resonated with so hard with that first one. I mean, that I dare say that Hell House LLC, that first one, is a genuine found footage classic, period. If not like,
Absolutely.
I think for me, this might ruffle some feathers. I would rather watch that than Blair Witch. I know it's controversial, but like, I'm coming from a place of like, they're trying to do the same thing. I just think for me, Hell House LLC maybe is a little bit more interesting.
I get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that.
Man, I think it's as good of a movie.
Beyond that, I think Hell House has more rewatchability by far.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the first Blair Witch Project, but like, you seen it once, you kind of seen it every time you watch it. Like, it's a, I don't know. It's one of those movies where I have enjoyed it the times I've seen it, but every time I watch it, I'm like, that's it. Hell House LLC, every time I watch it, I'm like, man, I'm so impressed. But I think I'm impressed by the same thing, which is the budget being small and the product being so high quality. Because that for me is really like the best thing about both Hell House LLC and Blair Witch is like, look at what they did with the budget that they had. And then go watch a Marvel movie and be like, what were they doing with the $200 million they had? And here he is doing like, you know, I can't even remember what the budget for the first movie is, but it's so small it would shock you that the movie is as popular as it is.
Yeah, fully agree with that part. The only thing I really think Blair Witch can say they have on Hell House, obviously, other than popularity, is like the marketing for Blair Witch will never be touched again. It's impossible.
Yeah. I mean, that's you only get to do that once, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. Really.
All right. What is your first bit of news, sir?
So my first bit of news, it kind of factors into what one of my suggestions is going to be, is the complete and utter destruction of the Joker brand by Warner Brothers in the last 2 months. In a way that, like, I don't know if anyone else, because like obviously there's a lot of other things going on now. They're taking precedent over remembering the fact that Joker came out and made like no money the second weekend. But I'm shocked at how poorly Joker performed. Is that a piece of news to talk about? I don't know how to bring it up any other way. Like, we're going to talk about the movie, so maybe I'll save it for there. I guess I'll save it for there. My actual, I guess this would be a more of a quote piece of news, unquote. And I know a lot of people are excited about this. Godzilla -1 director Takahashi Yamazaki is making another Godzilla movie.
This is a big deal.
Which is a very big deal because that was announced like a week ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I loved Godzilla -1. Godzilla -1 was fantastic. I think Godzilla -1 is one of those. I don't know. It's one of those movies where it took me a while to watch it. Once I watched it, I was like, wow, okay, I get it. And I've watched it like 2 or 3 more times since. It's, I don't know, Godzilla -1 is probably the best Godzilla thing we've gotten in a very long time. And I like Shin Godzilla, but I know people have the same issues with Shin Godzilla across the board, which is it's kind of a bureaucratic Godzilla movie, which it is. I mean, that was the intention of the movie completely. But at the same time, some people aren't necessarily as engaged with that as they are a kind of a revenge story as told via the way of Godzilla and Japan. So I don't know. I'm super excited. When we did the episode of Godzilla with Celeste, Celeste got me excited to watch more Godzilla stuff. So this is a little bit of paying it forward to Celeste as well out there in pop culture land, as it were.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Not to mention all of the work that went into the marketing and getting people to view Godzilla -1 as an important like pop culture moment
here in the States. You mean?
Yeah, was a huge deal.
Yeah.
So many people fell in love with Godzilla over the last year. Just glad that they were able to get first of all, like their first Oscar for the longest running continuous franchise. That's a big deal.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't know why it took so long. Could it have something to do with the fact that the country that made Godzilla was the one giving out the awards? I don't know. Maybe they're like, it's been long enough now. Fine, we can give him an award, given that Godzilla is just a lizard reflection of the United States' horrifying treatment of Japanese people, both here and abroad.
Right.
God. Good Lord. Hey, when's James Bond? Is James Bond won an Oscar? I guess it probably has for something. Probably for Skyfall's Song by Adele, right?
Oh,
That's what
it definitely won. And that wasn't even the first one, I don't think.
No. Because I was thinking, like, what's the other longest running franchise? It's like it's like Godzilla and James Bond, really. Like, they've both been running for almost as long at this point. I think they're only separated by maybe a couple years. So, right? Oh, when did the fucking Dr. No came out in the 60s?
Yeah, and Godzilla was in the 50s.
So it's like, yeah, so they're only separated by about 10 years. So I'd rather watch more Godzilla movies than most of the James Bond movies. And this is coming from the guy who watches a lot of James Bond.
A lot of James Bond.
Once a month, you can find me on Patreon for $10 or more talking specifically about James Bond with Mike White of The Projection Booth and Richard Haddam of Everywhere on the Internet, the writer of the Mothman Prophecies, Richard Haddam. I mean, if that's a thing that you're motivated by, which you should, because he's one of the funniest people I know. So, yeah. What's your next piece of news, Ryan?
I find this one hilarious because there was a piece that came out like 6 weeks ago or so that I wanted to highlight how just idiotic this sounds. We are getting word that the new film for the Toxic Avenger, which is like a remake of sorts, I believe. They I don't know.
Petey Dinklage, right? Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, they took Dinklage. They took a couple other big names that are in this movie, including like Kevin Bacon, made this film, and now they're claiming we don't know if it will ever be released because we can't find distribution. And I just have no feelings on this that make sense. I mean, when you have a film like Terrifier 3 that can make $50 million in the box office, people are going to show up for the Toxic Avenger, especially with these people. Sure, even if it doesn't have great reviews, people are still going to want to watch it. The rumor at the beginning was because it was too violent, and that's why it wasn't going to get distribution. Nobody cares. If it's not PC, nobody cares. It's
Toxic
the Toxic Avenger.
PC. Oh, no. Lloyd Kaufman didn't make an originally PC film. Lloyd Kaufman is like a pretty un-PC human being broadly. Like,
yeah, you could say that.
Expect? What do people want here? Well, we wanted a Toxic Avenger that was more in line with today's society. What the fuck are we talking about here? Let's just make a movie about a guy who gets goop dumped on him and he does weird shit. Okay, there was a children's cartoon about the Toxic Avenger.
That was really good.
I know, but give me a fucking break about it being too violent. Like, get out of here. Come on. I'm not going to say go watch the news, but go watch the fucking news, okay? Come on.
So there are people saying in 2 years, we'll probably find this on Tubi. Like, that's a bad thing. First off, you could release this through any company right now. People would love to release this film. I guarantee it. Even if it just got a theatrical and physical media release and then you put it on streaming, either way, at least it would live and you would make your money back. Just do something. Why are we making these outrageous claims? It seems like it's a publicity stunt to try to be like, oh, we can't distribute it. And then look at all these people lining up to distribute it. Come on, just put out the fucking movie.
The film is too terrifying for theaters, too gory for your screens. What does that even mean? Terrifier 3 came out in theaters, like you said. There are things in that movie that I never expected to see in a major motion picture release. Children being murdered with wanton abandon is one of them. Yeah, of course it was good. I mean, yeah, I'm not even going to quantify that. We had Erica Schultz on our show, and she has no problem saying dead kids are not something to be ashamed of. So there you go. I ain't ashamed of saying I like when kids die in movies. Not like I like it. It's just it doesn't bother me when it happens.
Right.
I don't know. Is that a weird thing to say? I don't think so.
Time will tell.
You know, maybe it'll become a soundboard. So many other things have. God, you won't catch me calling myself a coastal elite, though, because that would be a lie. Everybody knows I'm one of those Midwestern corn coast elites. I'm a corn coastal elite.
The Lincoln elites. All right, sir. Final piece of news.
So this ties into something that I covered earlier this year. We being I covered Cliffhanger, a movie I had never seen before. And we talked on that episode about a Cliffhanger reboot maybe happening sometime in the future. And it had been announced that it was happening too. Now it's going into production, and Sylvester Stallone is not involved anymore. However, speaking of James Bond, Pierce Brosnan is involved. So I'm already on board because it's Pierce Brosnan. And is he problematic now?
I don't think so. Did something happen?
I don't know. I'm just asking. I just feel like I have to ask now with everybody because nobody can seem to agree if somebody's problematic anymore. I mean, I don't care.
I hate that fucking word.
I know, me too. Like, I'm just like, do I have to ask now? Like the P checking for problematic. Okay, no boxes checked. We're good. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan's going to be in the movie. Lily James has been cast as well. And Jaume Collet-Serra is also still the director. So I don't know. Could be good. Cliffhanger 1's pretty good. Maybe they can get John Lithgow back to do his terrible British accent.
What did you...
Here we go.
I did not love Cliffhanger. What do you look back on it and truly, like, really enjoy?
It was a Sylvester Stallone action movie that I had never seen before where they're in the mountains running around and acting silly. I enjoyed it for how silly it is. I did not take it one bit seriously. So maybe that's on me. I found it to be an immensely silly movie. I thought it was tonally inconsistent, but I think overall for me, John Lithgow's performance and Sylvester Stallone's performance were enough and I forget what the name of the actor is, but he's a bald actor with a mustache, and the fact that the movie makes him the lead villain effectively for the first half of the movie. I think his name is Rex Harrison, I think. He's like one of those guy actors, but he's like the main villain for the first half of the movie. It's I don't know. I think the movie is just kind of like 90s action movie, big and blustery and over the top. I can totally understand not resonating with it though. It's not, I'm not sitting here and saying like it's the best action movie I've ever seen, but it was a fun.
That's what I heard.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. It's a fun action movie. I don't think it needs to be anything more than that. However, do we need a sequel or a reboot?
Reboot, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's already a picture of Lily James. The production has started in Austria, so I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't have Sylvester Stallone in it. It says Pierce Brosnan is going to play a character whose daughter gets kidnapped. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe. So that is movie news. Let's go. Hi.
You're welcome.
You're live.
Yeah, I know. That was why I told her to do it.
Say hi, Chris's mom, from everybody in chat.
See you, Mom.
That
was the response I wanted to get from you, was just the look on your face of, wait, what? And then you going, wait a second. It's live.
It is. Movie recommendations. Let's dive into that. Usually we're going to share two good ones and one that's maybe we can say you could probably skip. My first one is one that I watched in the downtime since our last conversation, but I feel like I've not been able to talk about enough. Snack Shack. This movie came out this year and is by the same director that did the incredible Dinner in America a couple of years ago. This movie set in small town Nebraska, where two kids are spending their summer in the 90s trying to figure out how to make extra money by literally brewing their own beer. And they get busted from their parents, and they're trying to figure out how to move on from there. And they bid for and earn the rights to sell snacks at a snack shack at the local pool. And it is a journey from there, coming of age story, essentially over a summer, that has a lot of emotional beats that you don't expect in a film like this. It has great acting, amazingly snappy dialogue, and snappy not in like we're trying to make every line a joke, but like the kind of like you're hanging out riffing with your friends kind of like bullshit dialogue that just is silly but also serious, and everybody loves to just hang out in that vibe for years. And it's incredible. This movie has not been seen by many people, it feels like, and deserves way more. I hope everybody checks it out. I believe it is streaming. Should be out there. I hope it gets physical release soon. It's an amazing movie.
You've told me to watch it.
I have.
I have not gotten around to it yet. And I do live in Nebraska.
That may be why.
Oh, well, now that they've mentioned Runza, I must watch it. I'm not saying Runza is bad. And if you know what a Runza is, cool. And if you don't know what a Runza is, I mean, you're never probably going to have one unless you come to Nebraska. So
I must admit, I enjoyed the two different types of Runzas I had when I went to Nebraska recently. Recently, meaning last year. But good
was
Lord,
that when you saw me?
Yes, one of the times I've seen you. But I will say, the after smells in our car were not great.
Are you talking about the farting or the smells of the food from the bag?
No, not in the bag because we ate in the restaurant.
Oh, you're talking about like the farting, just like
my kid farted a lot that night.
Well, you know what they say. It's so a Runza, Stan Gizia, is I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Gizi. You know what? I have a shitty to pronounce last name as well. And by shitty, I mean hard.
It worked with the word Runza. That's what Runza to Stan Gizia.
Okay. So a runza is essentially a roll filled with ground meat, and in Runza's case, and this is why your child was farting so much, ground beef and cabbage.
So much cabbage.
The most cabbage, one might say. And so it's essentially a roll full of ground beef and cabbage, like a dinner roll, probably like about this big, wouldn't you say, Ryan? I guess the ones at Runza are like long. It's more like a hot dog bun that's been hollowed out.
Pocket, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, don't call it that. You live one state away from Nebraskans. They'll come your way. I don't care about Runza. I wasn't raised there. I just lived there. So this is a point of pride for people that live there. I don't mind them. It's definitely an acquired taste. But yeah, there's a lot of cabbage. So if you're prone to farting, don't eat it. Or eat it. I mean, again, if you're going to be in a car with a lot of people, it's probably funny. Sorry. I mean, you said it. You said the smells in the car.
I had to. That's what this show's all about. Just having fun.
Farting.
All right.
It's about farting as well.
What is your first recommendation?
Joker Folie à Deux. I know. You didn't even go see it in theaters. I am the reason I went and saw. You are the reason I rewatched the first one. You are the reason I watched the second one. How have you not seen the second one? I don't understand here.
Wait, not a fan of sauerkraut. Sauerkraut has nothing to do with cabbage.
Yeah, it does. Sauerkraut's made out of cabbage.
But just because it's cabbage doesn't mean it's sauerkraut.
That's true. It's cooked cabbage. The cabbage is cooked with the meat. I do like that we're getting off on this tangent. No, I love cooking. I mean, I love cooking probably as much as I love podcasting, like food, like the cooking and the explanation and the talking about of food. For those of you that are in the know of food places, given that I'm having some big life changes, some friends of mine and I are going to Alinea in Chicago next month for a kind of celebration of the end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end, as it were, for certain things. And Alinea is a 3-star Michelin restaurant. So if you know what that means, I don't need to explain it to you. If you don't know what that means, read that as widely considered to be in the kind of upper echelon of best restaurants in the world. And this restaurant was actually considered the best restaurant in the world for 3 or 4 years. So they do not serve Runzas, though. But maybe they should. But Joker Folie à Deux, back to the initial question, is much better than anybody is giving it any credit for. And Hideo Kojima is right. I don't know if you saw what he said yesterday. He's like, 10 years from now, people will get it. I genuinely believe so as well. I think that Joker Folie à Deux is more of a meta piece than it is a serious piece. And I really enjoyed it. I understand why people did not enjoy it. And I understand why a certain group of people did not enjoy it. The people who liked the Joker 1 for the wrong reasons were never going to like a movie that is what Joker Folie à Deux is, right, which is a movie that literally dismantles the idea of what the first movie was getting at, because the first movie's intention was not to elevate these kinds of people. It was to shine a light on how these people become this way and how our system has failed them. And then the second movie just shows how the system continues to fail. But in a lot of ways, while the system may fail, the universe cosmically deals with its shit in the end. Let's just put it that way. And there's so much of that in Joker Folie à Deux that I really enjoyed, which is just, there seems to be a level of inevitability to the way the story is being told. And there's only one way that the movie can end. There's only one way that this story can end. And I don't know. I resonated with the story. I didn't resonate with the story in the first one that much, but I resonated with the story in the second one a lot, because it ultimately does become about what does it mean for Arthur Fleck to be the Joker? Is Arthur Fleck the Joker, or is the Joker something else that he is embodying? The opening of the film has a cartoon segment with Me and My Shadow, which is apropos, to say the least. I think, like Hideo Kojima said, I think it is a movie that people will be talking about once it finds its audience, and its audience will love this movie for a very long time, and it will become some people's favorite films. And I know someone's favorite productions is not ironically the name of your company. It is the name of your company and network for a reason. And I am trying to be more of a proponent of that in what I do. And I spent an hour and a half defending this movie on the crossover episode that Mike and I did on the projection booth. So I've already spent a lot of time talking about it here. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, go listen to that episode, obviously. But I think the negative press surrounding the movie was completely unwarranted as well. In a way that, like I mentioned in the movie news part of this, like, I don't understand how that fucking happened. I mean, I understand because of what the movie is, but like, Warner Brothers would not have wanted that to happen intentionally. And yet the moment the movie came out, they were like, this is an unmitigated disaster. And it's like, I don't think Todd Phillips even wanted to make that second movie, guys.
Right. And I mean, yes, I've not seen it yet, so I can't say much, but I'm still incredibly interested in seeing it. I mean, it's two incredible entertainment icons, essentially, from the last decade, acting on screen in something that, no matter how you look at it, is, I hate to use this word because it's been watered down so much, but genuinely brave. You know, after a first outing like Joker and the incel response that got, to come out and make a middle finger musical is such a bold stance to take. And yeah, monetarily, it did not immediately respond well for them. However, I easily could see this over the next decade becoming complete cult icon of films.
And it's a DC movie. What is this cult horse shit? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like it's the second most valuable comic book property behind Marvel, and yet it's going to be a cult film because a bunch of man babies on the internet didn't like that the director was like, I don't like that you guys resonated with this movie the way you did, because that wasn't the intention to glorify this asshole from the beginning. Like, so maybe I have to course correct here. I'm sorry you don't like that. Like, I failed to see how that's my fucking problem. Like,
right.
Yeah. And Stan is totally right. Like, the idea that they were just like, and this is a piece of news that we can maybe talk about just minorly here, that speaking of movies that came out that bombed, that Tom Hanks movie came out and just like big wet fart, right? And Tom Hanks, in doing press for the film, someone asked him, and I don't know if you saw this, like, why didn't you ever do Forrest Gump 2?
Oh.
And he was like, oh, they tried. They tried. They were literally like, do you not want us to back up a dump truck of money, pennies, quarters, and dimes to your house and just like give you all the money in the world? And he was like, it would like be putting a hat on a hat at this point. And like, I don't see Joker Folia do that way. I see Joker Folia do as a necessary sequel to the first movie because of the response to the first movie and the success of the first movie in a certain direction. And I like Stan is alluding to, like, I will repeat here, Todd Phillips, I don't think expected it to resonate with people the way that it did, in the direction that it did. And he probably felt an obligation to make this movie in a lot of ways as well. And again, nothing happened when Joker 1 came out. Nothing. Not like there was, furor in the streets. There's a furor in the White House, but there's not furor in the streets. And the furor in the streets was what people were expecting from that Joker film coming out. Nothing happened. Nothing came of it. And Todd Phillips took it upon himself to make the movie, to Stan's point, probably because they were like, here's a bunch of money. I'd be like, yeah.
I don't want to, but yeah.
Yeah. But like, at the same time, you can take it upon yourself to do a little course correcting. And, I kind of, to your point about being brave, like, I'm not going to call Todd Phillips a brave director. I won't go that far, but I will say it takes somebody with a hell of a lot of balls to make a movie that essentially puts your first movie on trial, both figuratively and literally at times. So Joker Folia Do is a movie that's going to get reappraised. Just give it time. It's like anything else. Though I will be right about this one in the end. I may not have been right about a lot of things, but I will be right about this one because this movie doesn't deserve half as much hate as it's getting, and it deserves twice as much praise as it's not getting either.
Well, this next one is not really needing to worry about that because
at all.
This movie is getting so much fucking praise. So I don't need to add to the echo chamber too much, especially because I raved about it last night on my show. So sorry to everybody hearing this for the second time if you're here from Disconnected. But Anora, Sean Baker's Anora is a masterpiece. Obviously, it winning the Palme d'Or this year was a big deal and led to a lot of hype. And to me, as somebody that literally like has loved everything Sean Baker's ever put out, I knew that I was going to like it probably, but it even exceeded my expectations after the increased hype, which is wild. Mikey Madison is a revelation in this film. She embodies so much of this character and is so different from Mikey as a person that I mean, obviously the Academy can be stupid, but I don't see a world where
what? No. How dare what?
On the dumbest of days, I don't see a world where she shouldn't get she's going to get a nom. I sincerely hope so, but God, she absolutely deserves
She's
to win.
a genre actress. Come on. How dare you assume genre actresses can be held to the same regard as Meryl Streep, Ryan? Jesus. I mean, she was the villain in Scream 5. She'll never win an Academy Award for a serious role, right? God, that's such horse shit. And I'm with you. Like, I want her to get nominated. If she wins is kind of unimportant, but the nomination matters. And she's a great actress. Yeah. I mean, look, as good as Jack Quaid is in Scream 5, she's better than he is.
She's so unhinged in that movie.
She's so unhinged in that movie. She's no Matthew Lillard, but she's pretty goddamn close. Let's put it that way.
She also, the whole Sean Baker saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She wasn't even in it that much. And her part is so goddamn memorable because she's just magnetic. Something about her is
unhinged in that movie too, right?
Yeah, a bit.
Her and Austin Butler.
A bit.
A bit. A bit.
All right, one more from you.
Yeah, so okay, everybody laugh together in unison when I say this. He can see it already. That's why he's laughing. Okay, some controversial opinions, hot takes. Maybe not hot takes. I don't know. Maybe this isn't a hot take. Original Hellboy is great with Ron Perlman. The OG Guillermo del Toro film is great, right? I think we'd both agree. The first one's great. Second one, I am not the biggest fan of. Are you?
I never cared enough to see this.
Wow. Okay, well that says all you need to know.
It didn't look that good.
It's not that good. The first one is a bona fide comic book movie classic, especially from like the time and the place it was being made, because it's like what, 2004, something like that. Sometime in that range. And so it doesn't feel like a 2000s comic book movie. It feels a little bit more elevated because of the Guillermo del Toro of it all. However, we then get the David Harbour Hellboy, which I actually didn't dislike that much. I thought it was perfectly fine. David Harbour looks really bad as Hellboy, but especially in this part where they give him facial hair, which seems like a really misguided idea to give Hellboy facial hair. However, all of this to say, Hellboy the Crooked Man might be worth your time if, and there's a couple qualifiers here, if you're a fan of Mignola's artwork, if you're a fan of Mignola's style of dialogue writing, and if you're a fan of Hellboy, I think broadly, you will get, I think, some minor enjoyment out of Hellboy the Crooked Man. And I will say most people didn't like the David Harbour one. I think that this is a much more approachable film in terms of it's not necessarily bothering itself with a world-ending crisis, as that one is like, all it is like, once again, Hellboy is trying to essentially not be forced to take over the world as, Satan on Earth. So I enjoyed it. I mean, the practical effects are pretty good. the guy who plays Hellboy does look like Jamie Kennedy from the second Mask movie. That is not something that I came up with. That's just, I think, the internet writ large making that comparison. But I think in terms of it being a Hellboy movie, I think you could do much worse. And I enjoyed it a fair amount. For what it was a small budget Hellboy movie, which we have not seen. Like, that's not a thing that we've seen. Every other Hellboy movie has been a big budget theatrical spectacle. And this struck me as more of a Sci-Fi Channel movie with Hellboy in it, which that might sound like I'm damning the film with faint praise if I'm praising it at all. But those Sci-Fi Channel movies have come a long way since, oh God, Frankenfish with Coolio, which is an actual film that you can watch with Coolio in it. He, rest in peace, Coolio. But Hellboy the Crooked Man, I think, is a movie that it deserves, at least the people who are into Hellboy, it deserves your attention. I know I'm going to be laughed out of the room here now by you, but that's fine.
Not at all. I've only seen one Hellboy movie, so
you've seen the best one, though, to be fair.
Right, and I don't have a lot to say overall, but the biggest thing that is wild to me, like, it is so odd to me as somebody that's never been deep into Hellboy that we have 4 Hellboy movies. That alone is like a weird development.
And 2 of them are technically reboots.
Yeah. 4 Hellboys, 3 Hellboy actors.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like,
it's like somebody's dead set on making it this huge successful franchise.
Mike Mignola. I have a signed Mike Mignola poster that I've been trying to figure out what to do with, like, the last 15 years since I bought it at a Comic-Con. It's the OG Hellboy BPRD poster where he's like kind of turned, and it's the BPRD logo and he's standing in front of it, and Mignola signed it at the bottom. I've never known what to do with it because I like Mike Mignola. He's not my favorite comic book artist. I love his style. And I honestly think, and if you've watched his stuff before or read his stuff, and I'm saying watched his stuff as in the cartoons, I think the cartoons of Hellboy are really the way to go because that is the least barriers to entry to appreciate the art style in a non-static way. And I'm not saying the movies never capture it. It's just the movies aren't able to get up to that line because it's either they do
right.
like a live action movie where it's grounded in reality, which was the OG Hellboy movie, or they do like hyper stylized. And I mean, I'm saying hyper stylized, and then like they could do like a CGI Hellboy movie where it's like a CGI, like all of the actors are CGI. You know what I mean? Like an animated Hellboy movie, as opposed to a hand drawn cartoon Hellboy movie, which is what they've been doing. I don't know if we'll ever.
It was called They made that. It was called Beowulf.
God, thanks. Speaking of Robert Zemeckis films. Did you see that Tom Hanks called the critics who didn't like That Thing You Do cocksuckers?
Yes, and God, do I agree with him.
I mean, that movie has one of the most joyous moments in film ever put to film, where they hear their song on the radio and they're all in the, like, that's a joyous moment of film. So yeah, if you don't like That Thing You Do, I don't appreciate him using the term cocksucker because I'm not sure everybody who didn't like it was gay, but I know he didn't mean it literally. I'm just one of those people he talks about literally. So
before we get to my skip,
my nails are painted. Come on, this is not like a fucking surprise to anybody here.
I mean, painted nails don't mean anything in 2024. I did want to say,
wow, Ryan,
apologies.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for
apologies to, I believe it's Chris Silvestri who's posting from Facebook. I don't know why, but it's not recognizing that it's you, so that's why I'm not saying anything. Chris did say, can confirm it's at least the most like actual Hellboy. I assume that's Chris. I can tell by the writing.
That's pretty great, by the way.
I talk to Chris all the time.
I was like, who is writing these comments? Facebook user. It is I.
That's the profile name, Facebook user.
Facebook user. It is I, the hacker known as 4chan.
So the skip for me, this one, which is funny
because like, become Mario all of a sudden.
The skip for me. I I actually enjoyed this movie, but not the way that I think most people would. Oh, wait. He says it's not me. That's weird. Anyways, the film I'm going to talk about is 2022's Candyland. This is a movie that came out literally about like lot lizards, truck stop lot lizards, except they are young, like 20 something sex workers for truck drivers. And it
sounds
was
realistic.
it was an interesting take on the story. I like the way that they ended it.
Oh dear God. It's me. Yeah. Hi, Jason.
Candyland was decently enough made, had some good kills, but I think that it did not live up to what I really wanted it to be. But not much to say about it. If you've never heard of it, which most people have not, I understand why. Yeah.
And I'm just disappointed to learn that it is not a movie adaptation of the board game.
We're working on that.
In the role of a lifetime, Daniel Day-Lewis as the Candy King. I drink your milkshake.
From
See?
the fountain.
Yeah. See? Yeah, see, we don't know who's commenting from Facebook. So this is the funniest thing we've ever had to do. It's just like people are saying, like, blink twice if you need help.
Oh gosh.
Oh God. Can I tell you my skip so we can make some people mad?
Yes, please do.
My skip is Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, you don't need to see it because undoubtedly at this point you've seen the movie. Sexist, what the fuck? What is going on in the chat comments?
I don't know, but it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. It makes this worth doing, as one would say. Deadpool Wolverine, I feel. I'm not going to say we were sold a false bill of goods, but we were definitely sold a movie that is just cameos, right? Like, there's a plot there, but not really. It pretty much, the climax of the movie is the reveal of 4 characters walking in from stage right. That is the climax of this movie, is 4 cameos, because the rest of the movie equals very little, if anything. I was not disappointed by the movie. I was just saddened when they added, okay, and I've said this other places, so I'll say it here. I think it would have been a much better and more interesting, and I think ultimately more fun film if it had been Deadpool 3, not Deadpool and Wolverine. Because I think if it had been Deadpool 3, we would have gotten some real, possibly like punchy things some really weird things. The Wolverine of it all kind of regrounded it back into reality. And I wanted Deadpool 3 to like go. I wanted Deadpool 3 to keep the energy of the first scene up. You know what I mean? That first scene in Deadpool Wolverine's the best part of the movie, other than the cameos, because it's pissing all over the legacy of Logan, which what a Deadpool thing to do.
Which supposedly is what got Jackman to sign on, I think, is what.
And then they were like, and then we're gonna keep the claws in our hands the rest of the movie and have no point, like at all. It's unfortunate because the movie feels, beyond the first scene, the movie feels really muted and neutered in terms of the kind of the teeth that the message had. And also for me, and this is again maybe just me kind of getting to the point in my life where I've seen it enough. Yo, Ryan Reynolds, like, we get it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I get your shtick, brother. Like this is now, you are just now playing yourself in Deadpool.
That is the problem I had with this. And it wasn't even that it was just all cameos, because obviously you had to do that for fan service. That's the thing, whatever.
Did they have to, or did they because they had no other ideas?
But the thing I truly hated about this is I feel like the movie was made to be watch us say the word fuck 172 times every 12 minutes.
In the MCU.
Right. And that was it, which I'm not against the word fuck. I just said it twice, but I don't need it to be like 38% of the script, which is crazy.
Was that the number?
No. but it's
It's probably
like
higher.
it's a believable number. Like
Yeah.
that's what's crazy.
You like
is
how I was like, is that right?
it's so weird that was like what they hung so much of this on. It was just I'm gonna be nasty in the MCU, and it's like that's not satire. That's not something that fulfills a part of this that makes this enjoyable.
Thank you for whoever put that comment. I don't know who you are because Facebook is taking a shit today.
Yay!
It's
Facebook.
begun. I mean, look, to Stan's point, you can never have enough fucks. Look, one of my favorite movies is
Around a good plot.
Yeah, Goodfellas has how many fucks in it? Like
A lot.
a lot of fucks. I mean, a lot of fucks, a lot of good fucks, a lot of bad fucks. Fuck them in the ear, fuck them in the other ear, fuck them in both ears. Like Goodfellas is a movie that has so many fucks in it. It's a plethora of fucks. And yet Deadpool Wolverine does not put it to good use because it's Ryan Reynolds just going fuck and then saying something else. Fucking, you know. And again, like the sexualized humor with the violence worked 10 years ago, dude. Like now I'm just like we've progressed past him sniffing his guns and going, I'm touching myself. Like,
Right.
are you 10? Like it's 2024. I'm not saying I'm offended. I'm just saying like your shtick has become old and tired. You better figure out a way to make this more entertaining the next time you do it. Because otherwise I'm getting off this ride, Dad, and I don't want to stay on it anymore. Like, and look, we talked about the MCU last time we did this. I sprung the MCU listicle on you at the end. And now this movie has come out since, and look, nothing has changed. Other than Robert Downey Jr. has been cast as Doctor Doom, which now, in my opinion, seems like a really lazy thing to do. And a very like, well, we have no other options. So let's go back to the well, literally. And Deadpool Wolverine was like, this is going to be the movie that saves the MCU. The movie doesn't even take place in the MCU for 99% of the movie. So I think it's thoroughly a skip. It adds nothing to the MCU. It doesn't even really even add Deadpool to the MCU, frankly. It just says like, you know, the MCU has become a sitcom at this point. The status quo is returned at the end of the movies for the most part. Right. Like, and that really is a sign of the times with Marvel that now even Marvel has gone soft, as it were, in terms of like actual engaging storytelling. So yeah, Deadpool Wolverine for me, big time skip. Unfortunately, wish it was Deadpool 3, not Deadpool Wolverine.
I agree. Next segment is 3 physical media recommendations. I'm going to breeze through these pretty quickly, as 2 of these we don't even, well, never mind. I shouldn't say that. 2 of them are
say, here he goes burying his things before he even describes them.
2 of them are shipping to people now. One of them we don't have all of the details. So the first one is Severin Films, who, while recording this, just announced 3 Russ Meyer titles in 4K for the first time ever. Those are available to pre-order now. They put out a box set that is their it's a sequel to what I think is their best box set they've ever done, which is All the Haunts Be Ours, a box set of folk horror films that are incredible. And the second box set has even more movies and a hardcover book, and it's like overwhelming in what you can get in a box set from Severin Films. You can get that now on their website.
Does the first one have Eyes of Fire in it, right?
It does, yeah.
And the alternate cut for the first time ever. Yeah. Yep. Just for that alone, the first box set is worth it. Like, and this is coming from the guy who doesn't even own it yet, but has been waiting to own it. And now I'm like, oh no, now there's another one. What the fuck do I do? I'm going to be out even more money if I want both of them. Because, oh, by the way, we have friends that were on both of these products, right? Like,
oh yeah,
several friends even, I think. I know Heather's on one of them, if not both. Sam as well, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yep. This second one covers a lot of area from the world that they did not cover in the first box set, which makes it even more exciting for me. The hard part that might turn some people away is if you are like heavily into physical media, many, well, like 7 or 8 in this second box set have been released before, but these will now be the better releases of these because they have updated special features.
Definitive,
and such.
one might say.
Hopefully, I could see some of these getting a 4K release eventually, but probably not. These are huge and they're expensive, and I get that. I see a lot of people saying they're going to wait for a sale. Just a reminder, look at the MSRP on these websites. The sale price is usually going to be half of that MSRP. So on this box set, if you're saying I'm going to wait for it to go on sale, you're only going to save about $20. And if you're like dying to have this, it could be a year and a half before you see this go on sale. And if that is worth saving $20, sure. But if not, I mean, you could have this in your hand. It's not like you're going to be losing out on too much money.
Hey, like I said, I was waiting on the first one to go on sale. Now I'm really up shit creek without a canoe, Daddy. Like I'm fucked now. I love Eyes of Fire. Like that was a movie I walked away from last year going, man, what a wild movie. Like what a good, weird thing that I would like to own physically at some point.
Right.
Now I should have an opportunity. I'm assuming they do some sort of Black Friday thing, right? We're coming up on the time of the year where everybody likes to spend that money though.
And if you are, going for these and maybe looking for some new titles, Severin will be announcing 10 different films going on sale for Black Friday, which is fucking overwhelming.
That's
but
wild.
Here we go. Yeah.
Hey, I had money and now I don't.
Now I have negative money.
Correct.
My second one, this is going to seem like nothing compared to that first one that I talked about. But this is truly one of my favorite modern filmmakers, and I'm so stoked that this finally got a Blu-ray release. We have a Blu-ray of Jeremy Saulnier's Murder Party that just got released from Magnolia as their first release from OCN Distribution, a partner of Vinegar Syndrome. You can pick this up now. Comes with brand new special features, comes with a booklet. It's got the classic art that you remember from the poster. This always had a DVD that didn't look great, and I've had a bootleg for a long time of this that I was so glad to be able to throw away and make it right by purchasing the actual release of this film. And everybody should have it because Jeremy Saulnier is an incredible filmmaker.
Who doesn't like Green Room?
I haven't seen. A lot of people probably.
What's the other? Yeah, well, what's the other with the new one? Rock Ridge? No, that's
Rebel Ridge.
That's the thing from Blazing Saddles. Rock Ridge. Rebel Ridge. What a great title for a movie. Still haven't seen it, but I know it comes highly recommended by one Disconnected Zone Ryan Farrell.
It's amazing. Yeah, you should see it. Final thing for me is one that is going up for pre-order at the end of this month, and letting you know now because this has been one that's highly sought after for a long time. Man, I'm still so excited for this. My dear friends in Deaf Crocodile, one of the best boutique labels out there, in my opinion, they are putting out the German 90s animation film Felidae, and it is coming on 4K UHD and Blu-ray. Coming with new special features for the film, coming with the original animators involved in the art, coming with incredible HDR on this. And I cannot wait to hold it in my hand because this movie is amazing. My style of animation, my passion for storytelling, like with dark animation, this movie is incredible. And if you've never seen it, it's going to shock the hell out of you. I mean, we're talking like a film about cats that are doing adult things like killing things and discussing sex and all kinds of things surrounding just life in general. It's amazing.
I'm also surprised how many times you said coming at the beginning of a sentence without laughing.
Purpose, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I noticed you were saying coming a lot.
The secret buried within is my dear friend Will Dodson and myself were able to do the audio commentary on this, and it was a lot of fun, and we filled it with a whole bunch of cat puns, and we think you're gonna love it.
One might even say that the title for the film should the box quote should be "Me Wow, Coastal Elite Dr. Will Dodson."
Sardis wants to know, is this in the sub? Yes, this will be the subscriber title. And in December, there will be a bonus title. I believe it's the Golden Fern that you can add to your subscription if you would like.
I do like the self-promotion here.
That's what I do.
That's what I thought. I was like, wait, isn't this one of your things? Oh, Ryan. Oh, you. Oh, dear.
Your turn, sir.
Yeah, and so the fun part about mine is they're all up here and not down on the page. So I already alluded to the fact that I'm a huge proponent and fan of cooking. One might even say I'm a fan of fine dining. I don't know what that means anymore because most places it costs like $50 to eat, and that's even at just like a restaurant, let alone an expensive restaurant. I understand a lot of people aren't into cooking. A lot of people find cooking daunting. A lot of people find cooking to be something that's very hard to do, and they want a starting place. And so I'm here to give you a couple pop culture recommendations that might, if you're not a person who's into food, but you're a person who's into pop culture, these might be some things that might kind of foster some culinary growth, as it were. So initially, I would suggest anyone check out either Joshua Weissman or Maddie Matheson on YouTube. I'm not a fan of Joshua Weissman. I actually shudder to suggest him because he kind of comes off a little pretentious for me, just for me. And I understand like he's earned it, so he doesn't have anybody to report to. He just kind of like, I really hate people that are like, I can make Raising Cane's better than Raising Cane's. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, no shit. Like they're a major restaurant that they have to make sure certain things are made a certain way because it's cheaper, but your audience is actively just like clickbaiting instead. I get it. I say Joshua Weissman because he teaches a lot of really important fundamentals, and I think that he is also approachable in terms of his culinary knowledge because he worked at several restaurants in Austin that are really well known, like Uchi and Uchiko, which are high-end Japanese restaurants. So Joshua Weissman on YouTube is great. Also, Maddie Matheson on YouTube is great. He is more, I would say, in mine and Ryan's direction in terms of personality. He has a very big, bold, broad personality. He is as entertaining as what he is making. He often makes things that are a version of a thing you've seen, but his kind of take on it. So one of the things that he is kind of famous for is carrot. He did this on YouTube, I think it was like 6 months ago, carrot cake cinnamon rolls. So it was cinnamon rolls, but instead of cinnamon, it was like carrot cake. And so it was like the dough. I don't know. Just go watch it. It's on YouTube. He's a little bit more advanced, but the point of talking about Maddie Matheson is he has a level of creativity that he brings to things and a thinking outside of the box that I know you and I both really appreciate, which is kind of doing things from maybe 5 degrees to the left or right as opposed to head on. And Maddie Matheson, for me, is one of those people. So I cannot speak highly enough about Maddie Matheson enough. I don't know, his personality is as fun as his content, and his content also is some of the things like his earlier stuff. He does an episode where the piece of meat that he's making starts becoming possessed and it starts spitting out green pea soup like The Exorcist. I'm not even kidding. Like some of his stuff is very pop culture adjacent too, which leads me into my next suggestion, which if you haven't seen it, I keep crowing about it and I will crow about it here for as long as I'm given time. So start the clock, moderator. The Bear on either Hulu or wherever you stream things. The Bear is not a comedy. I don't care what the Golden Globes say. So I'm going to lean into that immediately and address it right now. It is not a show that is broadly funny. It is a show that has comedic moments, but it is a show about someone taking his family restaurant and turning it into a fine dining Michelin star restaurant, possibly. And Jeremy Allen White plays the lead character. If you've watched Shameless, you know who he is. He plays one of the Gallagher kids in that show. In this show, he's the main character. The show also has John Bernthal in it, Oliver Platt. A lot of actors I have not seen in anything else. This is the first time I'd seen a lot of the actors. Even Moss Backrack, who is going to be playing in the MCU, The Thing, is in the show.
Ayo Adibri?
Yeah, I had never seen her in anything else.
You got to see. You didn't see Bottoms?
No.
You got to see Bottoms. You would love Bottoms.
Oh, I'm sure. Boy, you said that really specifically, huh? Didn't you? You sure I would? You sure?
Yes.
I have not seen her in
man.
anything. So she's fantastic in the show as well. And like I said, I had not seen her in anything. She's great in that. So I should check her out in other things. But The Bear has 3 seasons. The third season is a little different than the first 2. But definitely worth checking out. And then if you want to further your culinary experience in a direction that, speaking of Godzilla from earlier, and this is something that I really love, genuinely, I have love for. Mike White and I have the projection from the projection booth. Him and I have a project in the works, possibly surrounding this show. But if you are on Peacock TV, if you have a Peacock subscription, or if you have access to FilmRise, you should check out the original Japanese run of Iron Chef, which is without a doubt one of the, if not the great cooking competition show. I cannot stress enough that every cooking competition show comes from this show. This show set the bar, the gold standard. There were 4 Iron Chefs: Japanese, Chinese, French, and Italian. And competitors would enter the arena. A secret ingredient would be unveiled, and then they would have to cook as many dishes as they can make with that ingredient and then serve it to the judges, and then they would be scored on it. And that's all it was. But in the 90s, when the culture of Japan was so foreign to so many of us, getting to see Chef Chen Kenichi making crab ice cream or salmon roe ice cream or giant omelets or working with live fish and cutting their heads off on camera, like things that you were not seeing at the time. And then on top of everything else, because it's a Japanese show, there's a little bit of funk on it because it's dubbed in English, and the actors who dub in English, by the time you start watching the show, you'll pick up on all the people that are doing the voices, and some of them do some really it's not offensive, but it's like very over the top voice acting for some of the people on the show, especially Dr. Yukio Hattori, who is the resident food expert, who often goes, if memory serves, if memory serves is Chairman Kaga, who Iron Chef America pays homage to, because the Mark Dacascos character in Iron Chef America is Chairman Kaga's nephew, supposedly. And he came to the United States to bring the tradition of Iron Chef with him, which is why we were saddled with Bobby Flay being considered an Iron Chef, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a fucking joke. And that asshole stood on a cutting board during the American-Japanese Iron Chef battle initially, and he's a real turd, and I don't like him. So Iron Chef America can go fuck. Iron Chef Japan, the original, on the other hand, is totally worth checking out. I think there's like 300 episodes or something to that effect on Peacock, at least 100, maybe more than that. I know a lot of them never got English translations, which is kind of a shame, and they're not necessarily easy to find. And because they just used the music from Backdraft, more or less illegally, the licensing of the show is kind of always been up in the air. So yeah, I would definitely suggest anybody who's kind of looking for something cooking adjacent that's also pop culture-y enough. OG Iron Chef. I'm not going to calm down. Iron Chef America sucks. The end. I will refuse to even acknowledge it as an Iron Chef competition. It's Bobby Flay. It's beat Bobby Flay, but with a couple other people as well.
So 2 things. One, I always find it hilarious how everybody in the entertainment cooking industry absolutely fucking hates Bobby Flay and Jamie Oliver, and I will always laugh at those.
I have a genuine reason not to like him. Like,
it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Flay's kind of done it to himself. The oversaturation of him on the Food Network is kind of. He has like 3 or 4 shows. It's like, dude, what's the other one? Jamie Oliver, Bobby Flay, and who's the other guy? The food truck guy.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember his name, but yeah,
Tyler something. He's another one of those he's another one of those he's on everything.
So the other thing, I wasn't even planning on bringing this up, but you had to bring up Maddie Matheson. One thing is, I've loved and looked to Hot Ones over the last few years for not like inspiration for good interviewing, and unfortunately, Hot Ones has kind of gone downhill. They've sold out quite a bit. They're doing animated bits with Peter from Family Guy. One thing I want to shout out that does not get enough love is from the family of Mythical from Good Mythical Morning, Rhett and Link. Josh over there has started the show called Last Meal, and is an incredible interviewer, and it's such a personal way to approach these things. He did a really excellent interview with Maddie Matheson of this, and it's having people see what they would choose for their last meal, discussing death, discussing their life, how they got here, and what it all means to them, essentially. And it's usually about 35 minutes. And with that format, you get so much very personal information out of it, and it's amazing to see.
Doesn't Josh also make the meal for them?
It's a team. Josh has gotten very busy, so there's a whole kitchen
sure
team
has,
now.
Hasn't he?
But yes, he's at least involved.
And talk about propping up the mythical house, because those dudes' content has become equally as bad. No offense, guys, but Rhett and Link, I don't think they haven't, what's the term, kept up with the times, as it were. That's okay. Same with Hot Ones. Like, Hot Ones is kind of, I don't know, it's coming to this point where I'm like, has your usefulness been outlived? Eating chicken wings on the internet? Like, you got your memes. Look at us, huh? Who'da thunk, right? Like the Paul Rudd of it all. Like, there's so much that has come from Hot Ones, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, I liked Hot Ones for a while. Josh's stuff over at Mythical, I think, is more interesting. I think right now the bastion of cooking content in general is on YouTube. Like, I would not I would not even suggest anyone turn on Food Network or the cooking channel, because all you're going to get is stuff that you can watch without ads on Discovery Plus, which is like $8 a month. So why would you even waste time on terrestrial TV? And B, they don't even show you how to make things anymore. They don't show you like a list of ingredients. And I understand that. And yes, Hot Ones is an interview show, not a food show. But Hot Ones also is not a good interview show anymore either. So it was never a food show. You're right. It kind of was, though, because they sold the chicken wing sauce. But also, it's not a good interview show anymore because it's now what's the word? Responsible to corporate masters. Which,
sad but true.
If we were in the same position, it would probably be a thing that we were worried about doing as well, hewing close to certain things that people expect us to do and not do. And now we kind of see that with Hot Ones. It's unfortunate, but such goes the progression of the life of content creators on YouTube. At some point, you start making a lot of money, and you have to make choices to satisfy audiences and not make other people upset. So I get it.
So to put the button at the end of that, go after this is over, go on YouTube and type in Mythical Kitchen, Maddie Matheson, watch that episode, and to feel as much of your feelings as you really want to this week. After you watch Maddie Matheson, go watch the episode with Serj Tankian from System of a Down and question everything about your life, because he is one of the most down-to-earth, amazing people in the world, and you will love it.
And yeah, I agree with you. God, Serj Tankian, what a good pull. My God.
Last portion of our show here. So what we always do to end these, and what we will always do, is a surprise top 10 countdown. And the way this works is one of us will start. We will name the number 10. We're going to make our way up to number 1. And we each have the power to block one answer from the other person. But when you block that answer, it cannot go higher. It is off the list no matter what. So you got to use it wisely. If it's something that you like and you're like upset that it's at number 8 and you want it at number 3, it's either number 8 or gone. So the way that this is fun, at least, is the other person does not know what is coming here. So they had no chance to prepare. And so I got to tell you, we're going to miss some stuff on today's list, no matter what. I have genuinely not prepared any of my answers, because I want to see what Chris says and have me maybe mold my list from then. What we are going to do is 10 individuals that have directed films that we wish they had made an amazing film before their career ended. Or if they're still alive, we wish that they would come back and still make one more amazing film. Because there are a lot of directors that did not end on a high note that we really wish that they could have. It'll give us a fun moment to talk about each of them. We're probably not going to spend a lot of time on these, because we normally want these to be about 90 minutes at most. And if we languish on each of these, we're going to be here for hours. So we always start with the individual who has been surprised. So Chris, number 10, a director that you think you would love to see either come back from the dead to have an amazing movie, or before they pass, put out something incredible.
Oh, dear God. Man, this is the portion of the show where we just are making everybody mad.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, hey. Yeah,
Oh.
all right. I will start then with number 10, and it jumps out at me immediately. And I wish we got another film from this director, because some of his stuff, especially in the 70s, is like primo top of the pile stuff. William Billy Friedkin, go fuck a rolling donut, as one might say. I would love for him to have had like one more big Exorcist level movie.
Okay.
Like, because I mean, come on. Like, I'm not saying The Exorcist is his best movie. Sorcerer is pretty goddamn great as well. And so is Cruising, for that matter. But William Friedkin, I mean, as much as I like Killer Joe, which I do like Killer Joe a lot, and I like Bug, William Friedkin is one of those directors that, like, I wish he could have had that one more big movie so that Nicholas Winding Refn could have been like, this is a classic and you just made it. And then even he would be like, let's will this out and let's see how long it takes. I don't know. William Friedkin just jumps out at me because, again, like, he's not here anymore. So that kind of satisfies half of the equation. How do you feel about that pick?
On that note, like, I get it. I will say I don't feel like he dropped a ton in quality, but I do understand, like, making a giant splash before.
Yeah, well, because you said like it's one or the other, so I'm going
Right.
with the latter of the two on this one, which is, yeah, I wish he could have gotten like one more big one before he passed away. What, last year, the year before? It was like recent that he passed
God,
away.
I think it was last year.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number 10, Ryan?
My number 10 is one that hits very close to home for me and for at least one person in this chat.
Killer Joe was good, Stan. I'm not saying it wasn't. Killer Joe is an amazing film, but nobody saw it, and you know that, and I know that. Like, that was not a movie people were showing up in droves to see, unfortunately.
My number 10 is something that I wish could have happened to restore the legacy a bit before he left, and that is Tobe Hooper. He had hands in so many different genres, even though people seem to only know him for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I really wish that in, 2014, he could have come out with something that was, something that captured the world. I feel like he could have done one last thing to bring people together, to either scare the living shit out of them or just make them marveled with his prowess behind the camera. The dude was talented beyond belief, and I don't understand why so many still overlook what Tobe Hooper was able to do in his career.
Well, I mean, we do know why. And it's unfortunate that keeps getting brought up. So I'm not even going to bring it up. But we all know what it is.
Yeah.
We all know. I mean, we all know
that's
what
surrounding
it is.
one film.
I know, but that's the problem. Is like is the Deckard an android argument of Poltergeist. It's like you're missing the point. It's an amazing movie. I don't care who directed it. I know Tobe Hooper directed it because that's what the credits say. So shut the fuck up about it. Like that's where I'm coming at it from at this point. Like, having talked to people who are well educated and well versed about this, I am with you, as it were. Like, Tobe Hooper, I think, is a good, if not great, pick.
It's number 9. All right.
Speaking of horror directors, can we say John Carpenter?
I was gonna have that be my number 1.
Oh my god! So do you want to block it this low then?
I can't, because then it can't come back. Like,
that's true.
He has to be on this list.
Yeah. Oh, John Carpenter. Like, I actually think that there is. I actually think that there's one other name that could be on number 1 now. It's because John Carpenter's this low now. In terms of horror, if we wanted to take just a running leap at horror, I mean, John Carpenter. Look, what everybody will say about Ghosts of Mars and what was it, The Ward, with Amber Heard. Which is the film that ostensibly ended his career, or he ended his career on, I guess. I don't think it ended his career by any stretch of the imagination. But John Carpenter, definitely, he probably needs to be higher. But I mean, again, like, I'm not sure that this is as much of a rank as much as a list. Like, it's a ranking and it is a list. But with this one, it's like, I'm more worried that certain names are going to get left off, less the ranking of the names. Like, yeah. So John Carpenter is a big one for me. I think you clearly agree.
Yeah, this was my one when I was thinking of this as I said it out loud. He, he's happy being at home playing video games and smoking pot, and I love that for him. It looks
Hell
great on
yeah.
him. However, I love your movies too much to not be jealous of the fact that in some other universe you've made 5 other amazing movies, and I'm dying to see them.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Uh,
Five. Man, the length of time between his movies in the 80s and 90s was so little. It probably would have been like 7 or 8 at this point.
touche.
Yeah.
This next one I think is a very obvious one that a lot of people look to as one of those steepest declines in movie making, and I have to agree. What in the hell happened to Tim Burton? He has to be on this list.
Wait, what? Are you serious?
I am.
Okay.
He is not. He has fallen squarely off of a cliff in his filmmaking. I don't understand some of the choices that he's made. He's gotten obviously very mainstream, but the fact that you could have such an established like weirdo career in the first part of your directing life, that you bring attention to Ed Wood, that you shape a film around somebody with knives on their fingers, that you can craft the best Pee Wee Herman movie ever, and now we're stuck with Alice in Wonderland sequels and Beetlejuice sequels.
Okay, the Beetlejuice sequel is better than Alice in Wonderland anything. We can agree on that, right? Come on.
The first Alice in Wonderland
wasn't that bad.
is better than Beetlejuice.
What?
Yeah,
Whoa, now, wow.
I could argue.
I would argue that it's a step in the right direction. I am arguing that you are. Oof,
let me finish.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying Beetlejuice is a step in the wrong direction. It was better than most of those.
Worse than Alice in Wonderland.
The first one, yes. That being said, I want Timmy to come back. I want little Timmy Burton to come back and do something that is pushing boundaries. Everything about Beetlejuice is safe. Everything about Alice in Wonderland is safe. Everything that he leans on is just, look, I have a quirky style. Now please buy tickets. And that doesn't appeal to me.
That's fair. But to be fair, okay. Sidebar here. Sidebar. Because now I'm curious. Where was the moment where Tim Burton's career deviated?
Oh,
Planet of the Apes, 1999? Or 2001, I guess.
Later than that, I think.
You're going to say Dumbo?
No, before that. Let me see.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but you have such a strong opinion about Tim Burton, I must know. Oh, you're going to say Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I think is a completely earned position.
Yeah, I mean that's the first one that it started to fall. To be fair though, Corpse Bride is great. I still like it. I do think it's a step down from the first half of his career. Sweeney Todd, I truly enjoy. I
love Sweeney Todd, and I've seen the musical, and I love the movie. The movie is so different from the musical in every single way, especially tonally. But I love it, even though Johnny Depp's singing is not great.
Again, there are things after Big Fish that I enjoy, but I think Big Fish was his last masterpiece.
I would be inclined to agree with you, even though, like I said, Sweeney Todd, and I'm clearly was more of a fan of Beetlejuice than you were, I think.
No, I honestly really liked it. It's not Tim Burton. Tim Burton always, from Big Fish and before, did something that makes you go, whoa, I've never seen this in a movie before, or whoa, he went there, or God, this is so fucking weird that I could see this being my identity for the next 18 months. That's how we all viewed Tim Burton growing up. He did amazing things.
Yeah, but I guess wouldn't the argument then be also that now there are so many other content creators and people out there who are making much more actually subversive stuff that Tim Burton, Tim Burton just kind of, I don't know how, let me rephrase this. For as subversive as Tim Burton's stuff was at one point, people picked up the mantle and went way further with it, way quicker than he ever was willing to.
I agree, but that doesn't mean that I don't yearn for that director to
Sure.
come
No,
back and be one
yeah,
of those people.
I totally agree with you. I'm not discounting that either. I 100% agree with that sentiment as well, because the Tim Burton of Ed Wood is not the Tim Burton of Beetlejuice. Agreed.
Bingo. Exactly the
Agreed.
sentiment I went for.
But to be fair, Ed Wood is also like, even Ed Wood is kind of a reserved Burton movie in a lot of ways, right? It is. I mean, for what it is, it's not Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I disagree with that, primarily because it's a story about Ed fucking Wood.
That's true. Man, and Ed fucking Wood, that must hurt. A lot of splinters.
He did it a few times, though.
So number 7, right? Are we on number 7 now?
That was my 7. You're on 6.
David Fincher. Boy, he was going to come up on this list, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
Were you not going to say him? Did I have to say him?
No, because I feel like he hasn't done enough shit yet. He's made what?
I'm using him on the latter part of the argument, not the forehand of the argument.
Got it.
This is I want him to do something as wowing, as awing for me as, and this is going to sound like kind of a cheat, as Zodiac or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Though I find both of those to be kind of a piece as a movie, because they're both kind of investigative pieces, and Gone Girl kind of is in that, but Gone Girl's told from a different perspective. I would say David Fincher, I'm waiting for him to make the next great David Fincher movie, and Mank and The Killer are not that, like, especially not Mank, which was just fine. It was fine.
I still haven't seen Mank.
You don't need to. It's fine. You know the story of the guy who the movie's about, so you don't need to go and watch the dramatized version. It's not for people who know the story. It's for people who need to learn about who Mank was as a writer and what the importance he brought to cinema was. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, like, I know the story behind it, as I'm sure you do. So, and look, it's a perfectly fine Gary Oldman performance as well. So we need to probably do a list of actors in the same kind of world. So. No blocks yet. No blocks yet.
I don't know if we're gonna have a block, because I think a lot of these we agree with.
Okay, so what's your number 5 then?
Number 5 for our list today is one that got a mention earlier in the show, and I don't know that you've ever had the same feelings about this director, but I think you're gonna fully agree with the sentiment. I wholeheartedly wish that Robert Zemeckis would get back on making good movies.
I don't know if I feel that way, because I kind of don't vibe with what he does, and he really fucking ruined Tales from the Crypt. Like, he is part of the people that brought it to life and then also kind of ruined it in a way, right, because they weren't the right, like, I'm glad they got it created, but they were the wrong people to be involved because they don't understand horror. Fuck one. Right. But Zemeckis is, I mean, his track record wills out, like Back to the Future, Forrest Gump.
From 2000 and prior, Robert Zemeckis had like 11 things that I would say are masterpieces, some of the best things made ever. And then after that, he made The Polar Express. And
and that's where you're just going to hang that one, huh? Just right then and there on one movie? One goddamn film. Wow!
I just wanted to set up that joke.
I mean, it deserves it. It does that. And you know what they said? You know what they say? Tom Hanks wasn't calling the people that didn't like The Polar Express cocksuckers. So even he doesn't care about that movie.
So I like the last handful of things that he's done is Here, which a movie,
where
with
is it?
A gimmick of putting a camera in the corner of a room and never moving it. Cool. Like, I can see how you think that might be fun. It's not worthwhile.
Wasn't also The Thing bringing back Tom Hanks and Robin Wright? Wasn't that also the other like selling point of the movie?
Tom Hanks never left.
Oh, right. He's been here this whole time.
Pinocchio, The Witches, Welcome to Marwen, Allied, The Walk, Flight, A Christmas Carol, Beowulf, Polar Express, like.
Well, those three alone, those last three are rough.
You are the man that directed Forrest Gump, Death Becomes Her, literally the only Pitch Perfect trilogy in movie history. And maybe most of all, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, the important one as far as I'm concerned.
But also for a lot of people, like Romancing the Stone is a masterpiece as well. I Want to Hold Your Hand is incredible. Used Cars is amazing. All of those from 2000 and prior are leaps and bounds better than anything else you have done since then. It's been almost 25 years.
Can we say 94 and prior? Because What Lies Beneath, I'm not a huge fan of.
Oh, I am. I love What Lies Beneath.
I know people really like that movie. I'm not a fan of that or Castaway for that matter.
Castaway, I think, is incredible because Tom Hanks can keep your attention for the entire runtime.
That's the selling point, right? Right. Like, I agree with you there. It just wasn't my cup of tea, as it were.
I do agree that both of those are lower quality than the rest of his previous career. However, I think they are not off the cliff yet, like everything else.
They're kind of gazing over the cliff, wondering whether or not they should jump.
It's like where he started steering towards the cliff.
And then it was like Polar Express all the way down. Good Lord. So, Polar Express is one of the most atrocious pieces of filmmaking in the modern era. Everything about it is horrifying. The looks on the children's faces, Tom Hanks playing every single role. I dislike everything about the Polar Express in a way that's hard for me to verbalize.
Yeah.
And Beowulf is pretty bad, and A Christmas Carol is maybe the best of the three, but that's only because Jim Carrey saves it. But that's because it's Jim Carrey.
Right.
Like, he kind of is made to be Mr. Funny Face because, Rubber Face Man, like that was his thing. So you have a guy who's already emotive and they're putting all the CG dots on his face and letting him just go to town. Okay, I'm kind of there for that. But Beowulf, dear Jesus, and Polar Express, again, burn it with fire at the stake, please, for being heretical. My God.
All right, sir. Let's go with number 4.
So my next pick is going to be 2, correct?
Yes. This is
so
4, and then the next one is 2.
You're going with number 1. I think in the future, the person who picks the list should let the other person have the number 1 spot to really put him on the spot. Because John Carpenter, I think I stole that from you, and I kind of feel bad in a way. Well, I do feel bad because I don't, again, like subjectively, he could be anywhere on this list. He deserves to be mentioned on the list. So knowing that I don't get to give the number 1, but my number 2 is effectively going to be my number 1, and this is my number 2 then. I'm going to go with, and this is going to really make some people mad, and we've already mentioned one of his movies, Martin Scorsese. Oh boy. Get mad at me. I don't care. Goodfellas is my favorite movie. Casino is a close second. The Irishman is a movie I cannot bring myself to rewatch, and Killers of a Flower Moon was fine. But he peaked with Goodfellas for me. And that's someone who really liked The Departed the first couple times I saw it. And then I stopped enjoying it because there's just sometimes I watch that movie and I like it. And sometimes I watch that movie and I'm just like, I can't get through the first half hour of that movie. With Leonardo DiCaprio's Boston accent, brother. It's like, ugh, everybody's doing like the really put upon Boston accent. And it almost becomes comical and like a parody at some point when Mark Wahlberg is just doing nothing but the Boston accent. But I think Scorsese, like for me, I love After Hours. I love Goodfellas. I love Casino. A lot of other Scorsese stuff I don't resonate with the way that I resonate with those movies. But if I'm willing to say out of all the filmmakers out there, your film is my favorite film, and I've sat and watched just as many movies as you have in my lifetime, like that's a pretty big qualifier. He has never made anything for me that approached the level of quality that Goodfellas has. It's a 3-hour movie, and I could sit down and watch it in 3 hours and feel like 5 minutes has passed. That's how good that movie is. It is a feat of editing on top of just being a well-made movie. It's a feat of editing. It's a feat of needle drops. It's a feat of acting. It's like I know this might sound weird, but like, I think it's the best thing Ray Liotta ever did. Like broadly, I think it's the best.
Weird at all.
I think it's the best thing that Joe Pesci ever did. I mean, De Niro has had such a prolific career. I can't say Goodfellas is the best thing he ever did. Frankly, De Niro is more understated in that movie than Pesci and Liotta are, but that's intentional because, again, he's kind of the biggest of the three in terms of the casting. But that movie makes Pesci and Liotta stars in their own right. But Goodfellas, for me, is a perfect movie. It is Scorsese's best movie. As much as I like After Hours, I love Goodfellas just as much, if not just one tick more. And I don't think Scorsese has come back to approaching that level of quality since. And I know that that is very controversial. And I know people like The Irishman, and I know people like Killers of the Flower Moon. This is purely a subjective opinion. I'm not saying those are bad movies. They just didn't resonate with me the way Goodfellas clearly did. Like, I must have seen Goodfellas in the right place at the right time, but I'm not the only one who finds Goodfellas to be a damn near perfect movie. David Chase clearly did. He made a show about it. It's called The Sopranos. Like, that show cops the tone and feel of Goodfellas almost directly.
And
in
many of the actors.
That's also true. But same with the critically acclaimed, starring Heretic's own Hugh Grant, Mickey Blue Eyes, which came out the same year as the beginning of The Sopranos in 1999, I believe, which has like half of the cast of The Sopranos in it as well. But that's my answer. Is this too high on the list for Scorsese?
I understand. However, this is blocked.
Can
I
I veto the veto, Your Honor?
No, you can't. There is no block override here. I look
what
at
about
this
an ogre ride.
Right. Oh, that could be a good answer, Mike Myers.
You already said John Carpenter.
No, I get it. I disagree. I don't see the big drop in quality. I'm
not saying it's the drop in quality. I'm saying it's the level of the movie of importance. I mean, like the drop in quality. I'm not saying those are bad movies. I'm going with the latter part of the argument here, which is he hasn't made something of the level and visibility of Goodfellas, which was like a cultural, like as part of the 90s culture in a way where Animaniacs was parodying it, a children's show. That's more what I was getting at. If you still block it, I totally get it. I'm not gonna.
Oh no, I'm still blocking it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
I think you're on the wrong side of this one for now. Well, I might somewhat be on the wrong side of this one, but I think this one will out in time. If Killers of the Flower Moon is his last movie, I'm not sure that's going to be anybody's favorite Scorsese anything.
See, that's the argument that I was going to make against what you just said. I think Killers of the Flower Moon is going to grow in estimation and not go down. I think specifically when we're looking back on the intentions with the film and how it was handling literally colonialism, the way that we've talked about it. I think that it will be looked at as like I look at it easily as one of his top 5 movies.
No, I hard disagree. There are 7 movies I would put before that one.
I understand,
but I get it. Like I think for me, Goodfellas stands as the true test of his mettle because it is him confronting the thing that we have all been sold a lie on, which is the American dream. And Goodfellas is the perversion of the American dream. And what does that look like? And to be fair, Killers of the Flower Moon goes in that same direction. I just think the message is a little bit more specific and specified. And so it's a little less not approachable, but it's a little less least common denominator, because Goodfellas is really about like, you know, these guys are doing what it takes to get the American dream, but at what cost for your soul, right? And it's, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon, same thing. What are you going? You're going to steal the American dream from somebody else. Goodfellas is about taking the American dream by force.
I think we're partially looking at it a little differently. Like if Scorsese were to, you know, knock on wood, actually that like drop dead tomorrow, which God, I hope this doesn't happen for a very long time. If Killers is his last movie, I don't think anybody looks back on it and goes, oh, he ended on that. Like, it could have been so much better.
I don't know. I think there would be people that would. But I think there would always be people in that direction.
See, if his last movie was Silence, I guarantee people would have felt that. But with Killers, yes, some people might, but I think that they're wrong. I think that it's a good movie to end a career on, and that's why I'm hoping that this whole religious film, which for a lot of people those are like his downer movies, I hope if that's really the next one he's doing, I hope that's not his last one.
I will say in his favor for something like Killers of the Flower Moon, his involvement in the script, I think, does push that movie a little bit higher for me in terms of the movies that he's worked on, because I think for me, his best stuff is the stuff that he's written as well as directed, which obviously Goodfellas is that. I mean, Nicholas Pileggi. I mean, I don't know if you've read the book Wise Guy, but that book, I don't, the way that they adapted it for screen is still insane to me, that they made it seem like you're just reading the book, because the book and the movie are essentially the same, which is crazy to talk about with a movie that is 3.5 hours or 3 hours long. And you can read the book. The book is a rather short read as well. So, I mean, I get why you're blocking Scorsese, so that's fine. I think,
All right,
I think
gotta
you're
replace it.
wrong here, pal. Well, now you can't block anything, so I could just be like, well, I don't even, yeah. You know what? This is a director who I really don't have a resonance with his films, but I think it's a shame that this was the last thing that he made. John Waters. Right? I mean, the last thing that he made was that Tracy Ullman, Johnny Knoxville movie. Wasn't that the last movie he made? The one where it's like they're like Tracy Ullman's like a sex addict.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody, particularly myself included, enjoying that movie. But John Waters, I mean, talk about an iconoclast in his own right. Like
A Dirty Shame was his last one.
Yeah, that movie is not great. Like, yeah, and to talk about a subversive and in a lot of ways perversive filmmaker. Yeah, I would say, how about Danny DeVito? Fair. Death to Smoochie is a great film.
Literally all of those are, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I should rewatch A Dirty Shame. Maybe I'm wrong about A Dirty Shame. A Dirty Shaw was, I think, what they called Robert Shaw when he was done before he took a bath. But I don't know, John Waters, like Hairspray. You know,
I mean, you can say like almost all of his movies are masterpieces, but I agree. I would love to see him out of nowhere just make the filthiest fuck you to society before going out.
Actually, now I'm worried that, go ahead with yours. I kind of wish I could almost veto my own answer in a lot of ways.
Technically, you can.
Okay, I'm vetoing my answer then, because I don't care what you say that much. I'm actually going to say someone right now who I think even you would go, okay, yeah, you're right. David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, David Cronenberg. Like, there you go. Because, man, Videodrome and The Fly, my God, baby, those are perfect movies, especially The Fly. Like, is there a more romantic movie than The Fly? I don't think so. And he hasn't really, I mean, like, I know people like some of his other stuff, but I'll veto John Waters because technically he does have a movie coming out, so it's a little unfair. David Cronenberg, on the other hand, I have not really liked much that he's done since A History of Violence. I know some people don't even like that movie. Like, I like Viggo Mortensen, though, so maybe that's why I give that movie a little bit of a pass.
So a handful of things I have to say here. First, Stan says John Waters has Liarmouth coming up. For the record, he has said that he has written a script, but it is not being worked on or in production. There was a lie that got started that it was in production and got approved. There's no budget attached to it. There's no cast. There's nothing. It's not truly in the works yet, supposedly. I hope that it gets made, but that is the case. Stan points out Crimes of the Future is terrific and The Shrouds is going to blow us away.
Crimes of the Future was not terrific.
I did not stand Crimes of the Future.
I know you really disliked it, right?
Yes, I really.
I did an episode on it on my show. I didn't dislike it as much as you did. I mean, it was fine. It's got Viggo Mortensen. Viggo Mortensen's great, but Viggo Mortensen is kind of always great, and so that's almost unfair.
See, and that's where we missed. I can't stand Viggo Mortensen. He's like a wet blanket of an actor for me.
No. Oh man. Oh man. Well, that kind of sucks.
I will say I know somebody that worked on The Shrouds with Cronenberg, and he obviously biased, but he has regaled to me that The Shrouds is genuinely terrific. So we shall say.
Hey man, you know what? I give it an opportunity, but we all know The Fly and Videodrome and Scanners are some of the best 80s like sci-fi films. So you know, again, it's just he hasn't made something of that caliber since. And I mean, what is David Cronenberg's best film? Is it The Fly? It probably is, right? Right?
Best film I think is The Fly. Favorite film for me is probably Videodrome.
Same. One, I'm with you exactly. 100%.
But even like fucking Rabid. How do you come out with starting your career with Rabid? It's so amazing.
I know, and I actually am kind of a fan of Existence. I think it's a movie that
it's great.
Yeah. It's another one of those has gotten reappraisal since it's come out type movies. So
I also truly love Dead Ringers. I think that one gets slept on.
That's another goodie. Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's probably A History of Violence is where they kind of checked out, which is I get it. Like I understand. So
all right, 3 left. I've got 2 more to say. Chris has 1 more, and I'm really worried because I think other than John Carpenter, the 2 I have left are like the quintessential obvious answers here. So I hope you don't take one of them. Number 3 on our list, I have to say Rob Reiner.
I was not going to say Rob Reiner.
This guy started his career with 7 films in a row, one of them being The Sure Thing, so it's like a minor, but the other 6 are some of the best movies all time. He went through 5 literally perfect movies in a row with Stand By Me, Princess Bride, Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men. And then he chose to direct North, and his career tanked. And everything after that, like, he did The fucking Bucket List and LBJ.
What a great film, The Bucket List.
Rumor Has It with Jennifer Aniston. I will say...
Wait, isn't Rumor Has It? That's the sequel to The Graduate? Isn't it?
I don't know if that.
Wait, no. A Rumor Has It is like I'm pretty sure that's the movie that's like. Yes, it's like Jennifer Aniston learns that her mom and grandmother are the inspiration for the film The Graduate, and I'm not kidding. What a strange concept for a movie, by the way.
Yeah, I will say after the ones that I named, American President is pretty good. Most everything else is garbage. Like you did so many great movies in a row, and then you're able to do the rest of this stuff, and it makes no sense. This is just a waste. I mean, you have so many great ideas, and you directed so deftly, and now here's where we are. I want to shout out, Stan says Maps of the Stars is better than its reputation. Don't get me started on Cronenberg. Stan, you're supposed to be coming on Film Foundations to defend Cronenberg in our Cronenberg episode soon. So we will discuss.
I can't wait because I think it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page, maybe not on the same line on the same page, but the same page at least.
We'll see. All right. So yeah, Rob Reiner, that's number 3. I think that has to do so.
Okay, my number 2, I might be stealing it from you, and guess what? You can't do now. Block it. My number 1, without a doubt, because I'm so goddamn curious what the 2 movies past the last. Yeah, it is yours, isn't it? Mine is Wes Craven.
It's not. This was going to be one I was going to say, but yeah,
this is the big bummer, right? Because like I love Scream 5. I think Scream 5 is a worthy sequel, and I think Scream 4 is too. Scream 3, on the other hand, I'm not a fan of. Scream 2 is my favorite Scream. Scream 1 is the best Scream. Scream 2 is my favorite Scream.
That's the right answer.
Yeah. It really is at this point. Like Scream 6, on the other hand, doesn't live up to the promise of Ghostface in New York. I genuinely wonder what those 2 movies would have looked like if Wes Craven had made them. Because Scream 4, its weird lighting blur shit aside, which was the thing at the time, so I know everybody was doing it. It doesn't work for Scream, and it never has, and it never will, and it makes that movie always feel specifically dated. I can't help but wonder what Scream 4, Scream 5, and 6 would have looked like. And to be fair, what Scream 4 should have been had they let Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson make that movie the way they wanted to. And then 5 and 6 would have been a continuation of the story of 4, which would have been extremely subversive because since the 4th one has been out for so long, we are within the world of spoilers. The end of the 4th movie was supposed to be drastically different from the way it ended. And essentially the conceit of the 5th movie was the audience knows who the killer is and Sidney does not know. And that would have been such a refreshing and bizarre way to take this franchise that has stood its ground as being a kind of a pylon of concrete in a storm of horseshit in the film industry, at least horror, where they've taken the horror genre to task for the most part. And in 6, they've almost, 5 and 6 kind of verge on parody. 5, especially with that scene in the house where they're all in the living room together. I'm like, oh boy, this is a bit much, guys. This is a meta sequel. Like, shut up, please. Like that, you're now you are talking directly to us. And Jamie Kennedy and Matt Lillard in the first movie and second and third movie, and the respective characters that would do that in those other movies, it never felt like they were talking down to the audience. And Scream 5 kind of verges on that. And I feel like Wes Craven never did that because he had the sensibilities. And I'm not saying Radio Silence doesn't, because the Radio Silence guys are great. Like, they are really fantastic directors in their own rights. But I can't help but wonder what Scream 5 and 6 would have looked like. And plus the Scream 4 that we never got, if Wes Craven had been alive and able to do them. Because Scream, I think, for me, is my favorite horror franchise now as an adult. When I was a teenager, it was definitely Nightmare on Elm Street, which, who the fuck directed that? And on top of everything else, Wes Craven, as far as I'm concerned, directed 2 of the 3 Nightmare on Elm Street sequels that are worth watching. Whenever I talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, for me, it's 1, 3, and New Nightmare. There's a through line there. There's a complete story that is told there. There is one character that is more or less the focus there the entire time. And it feels like a full story is told between those 3 movies that makes sense. And yeah, I don't know. Wes Craven, I think, is a very good answer here. I'm surprised that he didn't show up earlier on this list, given me and you and our kind of overlap on the things that we like. But I think if we're talking lists and him needing to be somewhere at the top of a list, this is the right director for that, at least.
Can't say I disagree. I would have loved to see one more out of him that was genre defining and remarkable. And it's not like he ended on a bad note or anything. It's just that
he died.
I'm greedy. I wanted one more.
Yeah, this is he died of it. Like, that's the sad part with him, because Scream 4, pretty good. My Soul to Take, your mileage will vary. Red Eye is great.
So fun.
Red Eye is a great movie. I love Red Eye. Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams, like, yeah, sign. And this is like 2005 Cillian Murphy, like just coming off of Sunshine Cillian Murphy, either before, like right before or right after. So
and 28 days later. Yeah,
exactly. And Wes Craven had some clunkers in there, some real clunkers, but he also had The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is a Bill Pullman-led voodoo movie that is more fun than it has any right to be. So I don't know. I'm a Wes Craven stan from long in the day. So
now that nobody can block anything, I am happy to be able to deliver.
Wait a second. That is a hot fucking take. That's a hot take, brother. Oh, Freddy's Revenge is the best Elm Street movie. Wow. That is a hot take. How is that even a take worth standing by? That's like that's nuclear level heat, dude. Wow.
It's all right, Stan. I still love you.
Wow. Fight me. I don't want to fight you. It seems like you're willing to stand your ground all the time. And so Freddy's the remake is the best. Okay, well, now they're just trolling us in the comments. Actually, for the record, the remake had the opportunity to be good. He's not kidding. Or they're not kidding. A Nightmare on Elm Street could have been good if in that movie the reveal had been he wasn't actually a child molester and they had killed him by accident and he was innocent. That would have made the whole movie a completely different ball of wax and actually taken it in an interesting direction. And they had the opportunity to do it. They set the scene up and they didn't do it. And as far as I'm concerned, if they had just done that, it would have put that movie higher than half of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, really. Because there are some of them, Freddy versus Jason and The Dream Child, that are not great. And The Dream Master, for that matter. Like, those 3 movies alone are not great movies in that franchise as a whole. So.
All right. No blocks. So I think this is, when you think about it, the definitive number 1 here. And I'm so glad that I get to talk about it.
I think I know what you're going to say.
It's sad because I've liked everything that this director has done, even though most people have not. I am desperate.
You're not going to say.
What?
I thought you were going to say Steven Spielberg.
Oh, no. This is the very obvious one. I don't need to see like a pop culture empathetic film where everybody's like, "Oh my god, he's back. He could do it again." Give me one more M. Night Shyamalan masterpiece.
Oh,
Now, listen,
I do wish now I could block you. This is unfair.
It's the obvious answer here. And I liked Trap. I like Knock at the Cabin. Old is not terrible. There are so many things here that he needs something that hits like The Sixth Sense or like Unbreakable at the end of his career, and it would change a lot of people's minds on him. He's great at what he does. I think he is an incredible director. This is the obvious answer, I think.
I think that this, if you would let me block it, I would block it because I want to know what your alternate answer would be if I could block it.
I wouldn't have one.
I think the obvious answer here is Steven Spielberg.
No.
Yeah, what? Did you see Ready Player One?
No.
Well, okay. I fucking remember when a Steven Spielberg movie was an event? It was a thing everybody got excited for. People went out in droves to see. Remember Jurassic Park? You're gonna see, I can't. Shyamalan's career is a third of the length of Spielberg's, and he never reached the height of Spielberg. And Spielberg can't even get back to that point ever again. He is the GOAT, but he's not the GOAT he's not a current GOAT.
The difference is people that love film are still treating his films like he is Spielberg, and he's still directing in a great way for many of these. He's doing what he needs to do. However, he does not have the cliff that M. Night Shyamalan has. I think that he is the person that had the most impactful beginning of his career, and then the most absolutely dead middle and so far latter half of his career. If he comes back and makes something that's amazing, that would be a huge, huge improvement over what he's done for a lot of people. And again, this is coming as an M. Night Shyamalan fan. I had a video on my channel just a couple months ago for 2.5 hours discussing ranking all of the Shyamalan films because I love them. Like, he is amazing, but most people don't see him as amazing.
I think he's a great filmmaker, which is why I kind of disagree with this. West Side Story was fine. It has Ansel Elgort in it, which is just a great name. I mean, West Side Story is fine. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, I think it's almost unfair because M. Night Shyamalan is like kind of like, there's a different issue with M. Night Shyamalan. He deserves to be on a different list, which is like, tell me a director who kind of only made really one good movie.
Oh, bullshit.
Well, you're kind of saying the same thing. He never reached the heights reached the heights of The Sixth Sense again.
He never reached the pop culture heights. I think he
Haven't you seen Signs?
Literally, yeah.
Signs made as big of a. I think Signs had as big of an impact. It was a huge.
Not even remotely.
Oh, what? Because it's not. There was not an eminently quotable line from it.
Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, I guess so. But are people quoting "I See Dead People" now in 2024?
Yes, there's literally right now a TikTok trend going around of adults showing their kids The Sixth Sense because we've gone so far from it that people don't know the twist and they're revealing it to their kids.
A TikTok trend, the adult man says.
It's M. Night Shyamalan. I have to stay on top of it.
Hey, no. Well, now that you put it that way.
The signs were all there.
Ooh. There was a woman in the water. Even look, like the woman in the water is
Lady in the Water.
Whatever that movie has animals called scrunts in the movie. Okay.
Yeah, I fucking hate it. It's a bad movie.
Scrunts or the movie?
The movie.
It's fine if you like bad movies. I mean, it's not a good. I don't know. Like M. Night Shyamalan, I don't know. It's not that I give him a pass, but he's kind of often in his corner doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Which I kind of don't think he belongs on this list then. Spielberg's drop-off has been so hard since, since Saving Private Ryan?
No, he's had
things
after that.
Like what, Minority Report?
I don't remember.
You go look at the list. There's a lot of stuff on there that's just like, these are fine movies, but they're not like Schindler's and Jurassic Park, or Saving Private Ryan, which I'm not even a big fan of.
I mean,
yeah, and
there are at least 4 movies.
If Zemeckis is on this list, how is Spielberg not on this list? Is my question.
Because I think Zemeckis has a much steeper cliff than Spielberg. Spielberg still has like 6 films just from 2000 to 2012 that are still incredible.
Which ones?
So I think starting, if you really want to start with the 2000s, so AI is fantastic. It's not like this top tier, but it's up there. Minority Report is probably up there for me. Catch Me If You Can is definitely up there for me. War of the Worlds, better than people remember.
I agree. Also, one of the loudest movies I've ever watched in theaters.
Munich is a masterpiece. Lincoln, another.
Wait a second. Don't you dare skip that movie. I see what you did there. And you know what? Everybody listening knows what you did too, because you jumped from 2005 to 2012. And there was a pretty big thing in there that, as far as I'm concerned, was a cliff.
He came back after those, though, with good movies. That's what I'm getting at. It wasn't just like this dead spot. He done nothing.
He came back with very safe movies. Maybe the issue is Steven Spielberg just continued to play it more and more safe with that. Dude, he made a movie mythologizing his own life.
Right. And it got lauded, and a lot of people love it.
I notice how I notice how a lot of people love it is not you.
No, I'm not saying I love it. I don't. However, I think the filmmaking is still there. With somebody like Zemeckis, it is not. And it's not just that they're bad movies. The filmmaking fell off a cliff.
I don't. You know what? Let me ask you something. As we close this episode out, should Spielberg have shown up on the list anywhere?
In my opinion, no.
Wow. I disagree. I would say I disagree with that more than anything else. I think he deserved to be on this list at the bottom, at least.
I think even Fabelmans, which is, I would say
self-serving at least,
and it's self-serving. I think it's better than anything Robert Zemeckis has done in multiple decades. As a film by itself,
I don't know if I agree with the fit.
I know,
but Spielberg made Ready Player One more inventive filmmaking. Yeah, that is kind of the problem with Polar Express, though. That is kind of the issue with Polar Express.
He uses inventive technology doesn't mean it's used properly.
I mean, I would be inclined to agree with that. I want to look at Zemeckis' list one more time.
It's a bad list.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like Spielberg's list is similarly bad in a different way.
Ooh, interesting.
I think Spielberg's stuff is, if you're saying Zemeckis' stuff is bad because it's just genuinely not good filmmaking, I would say Spielberg's stuff is bad because it's genuinely safe filmmaking that doesn't speak to his ability as a director, because he has been able to, as one of our commenters put, Megan Mike the Movie Man, Spielberg is the best mainstream blockbuster director, period.
He plays it safe. That's what he's done his entire career.
I agree with that. My point is he's gone. The dial has gone too far now. It's just when you're making a movie about yourself, that is the safest movie you can make, short of making a movie about the Bible.
Right, and I'm not defending the Fabelmans. I'm
just saying he deserves to be on this list because he's making safe movies, which is kind of not what you were asking in a way.
Yeah, not at all.
But it isn't, because you were asking the quality of the things returning back to where they were. And my contention is, if you're making safe movies, the quality isn't there because this is art. And if you want to be safe, that's fine. But this
you
is
just
the
said
one.
You agreed when I said he's always been making safe movies.
But it's safe, but not always as safe. It's the level of safe that he's playing.
And that's why I think Shyamalan is a better answer, because nothing about it is safe, and the quality. Most people think that he makes shitty movies after he made like 2 great movies.
I think Shyamalan takes more risks than Spielberg does, and I think taking risks should be applauded more than being safe. Me personally.
Mega Mike the Movie Man just said the same thing about Robert Zemeckis, and we both disagreed there.
What? That taking the chances. Yeah, I mean, again, but I think it's what are we talking about? The chances and choices that they're taking. Zemeckis is just doing technology stuff. Shyamalan is genuinely trying to do subversive, like screenwriting, is what it feels like. Like he's trying to craft stories in a way that only he feels like he can do. I mean, Spielberg's best stuff, a lot of his best stuff, he doesn't have a hand in other than directing. I mean, Shyamalan, for the most part, is always directing his own stuff. Is that not the case? It's like 1 or 2 things, and
there's only a couple things.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure Avatar, even though that's somebody else's property, he did the adaptation on. I'm pretty sure he did the adaptation on The Knock at the Cabin. I don't know. I think between me and you right now, this is just a difference of what are we valuing in a conversation about the worth of a director. I can totally see where you're coming from with Shyamalan, 100%. And to Megan Mike, the Movie Man's point, or Mega Mike. I keep saying Megan. I don't know why. Sorry. I can't read so good. I went and I'm going to go jump down a well now. James Cameron is the best combination of those things. Frankly, James Cameron should have shown up on this list.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He is the more obvious answer than Steven Spielberg. But
he's the more obvious answer than Shyamalan even, isn't he?
No, see, the difference is, I think, in like again, not just based on us, but in the overall pop culture world, there's still a shit ton of people that worship James Cameron and say that everything he's done is amazing. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, especially Avatar, which I don't get at all. I will never understand the popularity of Avatar for as long as I live. I understand why people like Transformers. I understand why people like all kinds of things. Avatar, I do not understand why people like it unless it's, and again, I know that it has a massive audience overseas, so maybe it's just the ease and relatability of characters that come from no previous IP that have been created whole cloth. That's what is appealing. I don't know, but like, I'm not the right person to ask about Avatar, because to your point, like the first time I saw Avatar 1 in theaters, I was like, this is a piece of shit. I was like, this is fucking Fern Gully. This is Pocahontas. Like this is the colonizer story. Like, I don't care. So
that is State of the Union, though. Here we are. This is going to be happening once a month. If you like this, come back. If you don't, have a good day. Otherwise, check out Film Foundation.
Good day. Take care, and don't let the door hit you on the way out, I guess. Jeez.
Check out our show, Film Foundations, if you never have. Comes out usually every Wednesday. It's a good time, and we get into fun conversations like this. We'd love to have you.
Not as
Chris,
heated as this, though.
Where else can people find your stuff?
weirdingwaymedia.com is the repository for all things audio that I work on. I do a handful of shows over there. I've been doing the Culture Cast now for 10 years plus, because technically it was October of 2014. So 10 years I've been doing the Culture Cast, talking about movies, have over 600 episodes. So if you got 600 hours of time, that's where you can go and spend it. Patreon.com/culturecast/projection booth/Father Malone are places that you can go to interact with the content creators on my network who are, looking financially which who isn't right now, because this isn't easy and this takes time and effort to make. So if you feel like what we do enriches your life in a certain way, $1 is more than enough, and the dollar might not seem like a lot to you, but $1 is a lot to us. So that would be my kind of conceit to everyone out there. I understand times are hard, and hey, times aren't about to get any easier for some of us. Let's just put it that way. So I can't blame you for wanting to hold on to your hard-earned dollars. But hey, if we provide value, think about us from time to time, because we're thinking about you all the time. What about you, Ryan?
Well, on that note, I'm very personally worried about losing my job under this new administration. So we'll talk about that later, because I may be pleading for Patreon followers in the new year. As we stand, I have far too much going on. You might be here from The Disconnected. If you are not, check that out anywhere on social media. I put out a magazine called The Physical Media Advocate. You can look for that. But probably the biggest thing in my life is Someone's Favorite Productions, a production company where we work on bonus features on discs. We are producing discs that people don't even know about because our name's not on the back and we're just making them for you. I hope you enjoy them. If you want to check out what we're working on, go to someone'sfavoriteproductions.com. We would love to have you be a part of things. And we loved having you here today. We will see you on the next episode. Anything else, Chris?
Hey, keep y'all's head on a swivel, stay vigilant, keep fighting the good fight, and don't let shit get you too far down, because, hey, you can always just escape into the movies for an hour and a half.
Just make sure it's not one by Robert Zemeckis.